we'll take it all from there. But feel free to interrupt and ask any questions anywhere along the way. So we'll dive right in. The session's being recorded. I'm Rob with Campus Contact, and you can see all other recordings at campuscontact.com/training, where we are putting all, well, you do have to type it right. So you have to put your little slash there. So we're putting all of our recorded training classes online, so you can go back and watch them later on. So if you haven't done that yet, you can go back and see some of the other classes that we've done. So we're going to jump right in to do some training. First thing you'll notice is that in your new website, there's no login link at the bottom of the site anymore. It no longer has login, and we removed that because we were getting a lot of false positives, a lot of people just banging on it trying to log in and hack into the sites, and we certainly don't want that. So there's no more login. Instead, you have to remember that in order to manage your website, you'll have to go to admin.campuscontact.com, and that's where you'll be logging in going forward in order to use the website. So admin.campuscontact.com. I'm going to log in with a demo account. And so I logged into my new site, and if you have multiple sites that you manage, you'll see them all right here in your dashboard. Otherwise, if you just manage one site or two sites, you'll see whichever ones you have access to in your dashboard here when you log in. And in this dashboard, we've got some options. Of course, we can jump right over to edit the site real quick, which we're going to do in a minute. But we can also preview the site by clicking the preview link, so we can kind of see how it's going to look in mobile, tablet, or desktop mode. So that's kind of cool. We can also see the stats, so that now there's Google Analytics built right into the website, so you can see the stats of any site right there. Of course, this being a training site, there's no actual stats because it's not even live for the world, but you will definitely see all of your stats just like you would in Google Analytics right there in your site. You can still use Google Analytics if that's the system you prefer, and I'll show you in the settings where you can embed the Google code to actually do that. To the far right of that is the little hamburger menu where we'll be adding additional features as we go along. But for now, the main one that you can get to is form responses. And so in the old system, any forms that you had in the site, you had to go back to each individual form to get the results for that form. And if you had them buried in the site or didn't know where they were, or you wanted somebody else to do it, they'd have to know where it was. It was a real pain. So instead, we've actually aggregated all form responses into one location so that you'll see them all rolled up into one. Again, this one being a training site, there are no form responses, but you'll see that at your dashboard if you just mouse over that little icon there, and you'll be able to get to all of your forms. And of course, you can see all the results and stats and everything of all the forms there, as well as export them into a CSV format so that you can put them into Excel and do whatever it is you wish to do with the form responses. So that's what that's good for. So that's a really nice improvement there. The other thing, of course, is at the top right. If you mouse over your name, you can manage your account password. You can also change the language of the editor, not the site itself, but the editor that you're working in when you manage the website. So you can change the language. And of course, don't forget to sign out. This new system does not sign you out after 30 minutes like the old one did. A lot of people did not like that. Obviously, that was done for security. So if you're working in a classroom, you need to make sure that you log out of your website just like you would log out of your bank account, as this is just as important. Make sure that you sign out when you're finished with it so that nobody else comes behind you and helps you out with your website. Because some of these kids will be happy to help you out with your site at any time. So we're going to just jump right into the edit mode. We're going to pop around on the site and take a look. So I clicked on edit, and now I'm in my edit mode. We've got some other folks here, so I'm going to go ahead and mute it. Just getting some background here. Background noise. Okay. Okay, so now we're logged into our new website, and we can tell we're logged in because we have this black bar across the top, and we see the word Campus Contact, and there's some options across the top and some options down the left that we're going to cover real quick. So first off, of course, is this little drop down that allows you to jump to any page in your site so you can go and edit that site. I'm sorry, that page. You can just, it's a quick link drop down. If you have a bunch of pages, you'll see that this will be a long nested list, and you'll see all the pages, including hidden pages in your site that you can jump to real quick and easy. Of course, you can also use the navigation that's in your site, but if you had a page that's hidden from the navigation, then obviously it wouldn't show up in the navigation here. So a quick way to get to it is using this drop down at the top, which you can also get to from the drop down on the left. It'll slide out on the left here. So we'll talk about that one in just a minute. So next at the top, we've got options to view your site in different formats, so you can see how it's going to look as you're building it. How's it going to look on the different devices, like tablets? I can quickly see how this site is looking, and I can manage the content, maybe rearrange or resize things or hide things based on the specific device. And I can see it in mobile mode as well. So I can see exactly how it's going to look and function on all the different devices. So that's a really cool improvement, that you can see before you publish it exactly how it's going to look and manage it actually in all the different device modes. Over to the right, we've got some info and tools. I'm going to skip the first one. It's just a quick access thing that allows you to search for literally anything you need. It's a new plugin in progress, but if you go play with it, you might like it. I'm going to move on and just click on the info and tools, and from there, this little icon shows me my site name, which will change once your site goes live to your URL. And we can change the URL to whatever you want at any time. So if your schools are schoolname.campuscontact.com and later you want to change them to your own custom URL, we can absolutely do that very easily. We can even have multiple domains pointed to your website, so that's easy to manage. And we can also see below there that this site is published, so we see the status of it. Your sites are usually not published until you're ready to go live. I saw that Hancock just signed on there. Good morning, Mr. Warren. And their sites just went live yesterday, and they all changed from unpublished to published now. A little below that, on the left-hand side, we've got a preview link. So sometimes you'll be working on a page and in your site, and you want to share it with somebody before it goes live. This allows you to send a link to whoever needs to review it, so they can see how it's going to look before it actually goes live. So you can just copy this link, and they can then paste it in another browser or tab, and they can see exactly how it's going to look before it goes live and say, hey, that does look great. Go ahead and roll with it. So that's just a nice little preview link, and of course you can do it in a desktop or mobile link as well. Then we've got our stats. These are the same stats that I saw a minute ago when you were on your dashboard. When you open it, again, it will take you back to all of your stats, which this site has none, but you'll see that there are a lot of different stats built in. Engagement and traffic sources, browsers, different geolocation, page visits, page views, time on page, all the usual stuff that you want to see is available. And of course, it's all broken down by desktop, tablet, or mobile as well. So there's lots of detailed reporting available for you in your stats. And then again, we've got the editor language, so you can change the editor. This is not the website itself. This is just the editor that you're working in. You can change the language so that it's easier for you to work in if you need a different language. To the right of that, we've got a little check mark, and you'll see that this little check mark will change from a check to 3 little dots as you're working in the site. Everything now is auto-save, so you don't have to worry about hitting the save button. There is no more save button. It's gone. Everything that you do in the site is just automatically saved as you go along. So you'll see it change from a check mark as it's saving. It'll change to 3 little dots, and then it'll change back to a check mark after it's done. So it's constantly auto-saving as you're working in the site. To the right of that are your undo and your redo buttons. And I use these a lot. You can undo. We've tracked it up to 100 steps backwards. So it may even be more. 100 is a little excessive, but I know it can at least do 100 steps backwards in terms of undo. So if you get pretty far along in your site and you realize, oh my gosh, I really messed it up, you can undo at least 100 steps back and really undo the heck out of it. So that's a really nice thing to have. Of course, you've got a preview option as well, and the preview option will allow you to click and move around in the website just like a live user will. which is really beneficial if you want to start testing buttons and links and things like that as you're working on your site. If you try to do that while in this edit mode, which is the default mode, instead of it clicking on something, a lot of times it'll actually take you there, or actually it'll take you into edit mode, and a lot of times you actually want to click on it and test it. So it won't take you to where the link goes. Instead, it thinks you want to edit the link. So if you want to test your links and things like that, make sure you jump over to the preview mode, and then when you click things, it will take you there, and it'll actually function like it should when they're logged out. And then over to the right, the big blue button, this is really, really important, and this is your republish button. So everything's auto-saved now by default, but it's not auto-published, meaning that it's not going to be sent out to the real world until you hit this republish button. So you can work on your site, you can add all kinds of new pages and content and videos and text and all kinds of cool stuff, but nobody gets to see that stuff until you hit the republish button. So it's kind of like it allows you to work in the background so nobody has to see you doing it. You can make a mess of your page, do whatever you want, add all kinds of stuff. Nobody has to see you working until you hit the magic republish button. So I have seen several people already say, I added 4 pages to my site and I added all kinds of new stuff. Where did it go? I logged out and it's gone. Well, it's not gone. It's all auto-saved, so nothing's gone. It's just that they didn't hit the republish button and it was not published, so it wasn't live on their website. So that's going to be really, really important for you when you're finished making your changes and adding new content. Make sure you hit that republish button in order for it to go out to the world. To the right of that, we've got a little help link. And so we've got a tremendous amount of documentation in here, which is growing daily. So there's information far more than what we can cover in here today, but there's a lot of documentation in here for you. So if you need that help link, go ahead and click that at any time. There's a lot of information there for you. Of course, we're available. Go to campuscontact.com and hit us up with any questions. Of course, you can do the live chat Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can submit a trouble ticket. You can do the live chat. You can call us, email us, whatever. There's lots of ways to get a hold of us. And of course, this training session and all others are being recorded for your review later on as well. And finally, at the top is the home button that takes you back to your dashboard so that you can either log back out or you can jump to another site and edit it or whatever else you need to do. So we'll jump back in here into edit mode. And all right, so we're back into our edit mode, back into our website. And let's look at these options down the left-hand side. So there's quite a few things we can cover on the left-hand side. The very first one, the design, is one I'm going to ask you not to change. Although you do have access to it, you can go in there and poke around and mess up the design all you'd like. We would like to ask you not to. I'm not even going to share with you what's in there, but just leave it alone. It's an option basically that we use when we're initially setting up and building out your site, where we can manage the fonts and the colors and lots of other things that help the initial design and setup of your website. If you go in there and poke around and break it, there is an undo where we can roll your website back and we'll do a whole restore option, but that will also wipe out any changes that you made in that time. So depending on how comfortable you are with risk, if you want to poke around and design and mess it up, go right ahead and we will restore it for you, but it will likely wipe out whatever other content you've changed or updated. So that's up to you, but please just leave the design button alone. Let's instead go down below that and look at pages. So this is your new page manager. It's built right here on the page, and you'll notice there's no more page reloading. All that slowness of the old system is gone. Everything's done right here in real time in one page. It never has to reload. It's awesome. So we can manage pages just like before, where we can drag and drop the sort order of pages. You can just grab them and move them around real easily. You can also manage the hierarchy or the order of pages, like parent pages and child pages, by simply dragging them to the right. So if I want to put contact under home, all I have to do is drag it to the right and let it go. And now it's under my home. If I want to add another one under there, just drag that to the right and put them all under home. Drag that one there too. So now everything's under the home page. All you do is drag them to the right And now they're under that. We want to get them back out of there, drag them back to the left, and easily change the order and the hierarchy of your pages just by dragging them around. So it makes it really, really simple to manage the orders of your pages. I've seen several schools who want to put their pages in alphabetical order. Super easy now, just by shuffling them around, put them in whatever order you want, and bada bing, you're done. So real quick and easy. Another thing about pages is that to the right of every one of them is a little gear icon. And this is where you'll get to your page settings, such as renaming the pages. You can hide a page in your navigation, which is pretty common. I know almost every site has different pages that are hidden, and that's because not everything has to be in the navigation. You might have a button that takes you to a page instead of it being in the navigation. Or you might have a page that just doesn't work well on mobile, maybe some big table or something. And actually our tables are responsive, so they do work. But you might have something that doesn't work on some different device that you want to hide. And so you can hide it on different devices as needed. For example, on our Campus Contact website, we actually have several buttons that allow you to click to call us. Obviously, that click to call does not work on a desktop, so we have pages and widgets that are hidden from desktops and tablets, but they appear on mobile. So the click to call button is a good example of how you might use that. Of course, you can duplicate pages. We could change page URLs. So now you can have very specific URLs on your pages. If you want to have your domain /HR or teachers or whatever it is you want to do, from a marketing standpoint, it's very nice and easy to promote a page if it has a clean URL, which you can create on your own. By default, it's going to just be whatever the page name is. But if you want to change that, your page name can be something really long, but your URL to it can be really short, whatever you want it to be. So you can customize that as well. Under those settings, you can also manage the SEO so that you can allow your search engines to crawl the page or not. So you can block that. And if you've got a page that's maybe going to have proprietary stuff that you don't want the rest of the world to see, maybe some stuff for teachers that might require a login instead of it just being a public page, you can turn that off and not crawl it. So, for example, our pricing page on campuscontact.com, we hide that because all of our competition folks want to go pound on it, so we hide it. So there's some other internal pages that we hide as well. You can also change the title of the pages, and that's what shows up in the actual tab. Oops. So at the very top of your browser, that's the page title that shows. And you can create a page description for search engine optimization or SEO. This is really important for you later down the line, especially on your home page, but it's also pretty important for your other pages that you go through and give each page an actual description of what they are so that they can be found more easily in the search engines. Page keywords, it's kind of dead. Google and most of the others no longer look at keywords, but if you're comfortable with it and you've already got them mapped out or however you want to put, you can put your keywords there. They don't hurt, but they no longer really help you in terms of search engine optimization. If you're going to have a page that's going to be secure, maybe you want it just for teachers or a specific group, you can set a password for any specific page. And then last is the HTML. If there's a specific code that you need to embed on a page, like for example, if you're going to use Google Analytics and you need that site verification code, you can copy that verification code, paste it in here in the header HTML, go back to Google, and it'll verify ownership. So there aren't a whole lot of usage for it anymore, but if you come across one, that's where you would put it. So all of that is in your page settings, and I'm sorry, under SEO, and all the options, just click on the little gear to the right of the page. So managing new pages is real easy. To add a new page, you simply click the new page button, big new page button. And we've got a lot of neat new stuff here. So when you're adding a new page, you can add a blank page, which is pretty typical. Or you can add a page that redirects to somewhere else, like maybe you're going to have a link in your navigation that links to Power School or Google, I don't know, Gmail, something like that. Well, that's pretty common that you'll have a page that links out, so you can use a page URL and enter the URL that it needs to jump to, and it'll just go right out. And we even have a what we call a folder page, where if you're going to create a page for, let's say, departments, and under departments is going to be maybe 10 or 12 different departments for HR and athletics and music and whatever else. Maybe the page, the top is really just a placeholder, right? So you might have departments, but on that departments page is really nothing. It's all about those options underneath it. Well, in that case, you would use this folder page, which means it's kind of, you're just putting a placeholder at the top, and all those other pages that are going to have actual content, accessible content, will be underneath that. So that would be a folder page. What's really new are the templates. And so we've created different page templates for you, which are really cool. So if you're going to create an About Us page, we've got one that's already styled. It looks awesome. And all you have to do is go in and change the photos and the text and make it your own. Same with a team. Maybe you're going to do a portfolio page. We've got you covered. All you have to do is go in and update it with your content, your photos, and it's yours, and you're done. So these templates really make building out beautiful pages really simple, because it's already pre-formatted, pre-styled, it's all done, it's got lots of different widgets on it, and it's all laid out. Of course, you can rearrange it and change it in 1,000 different ways, but it's already there for you for the most part, and so you just simply build on it. You want to create a cafeteria menu page? Go right ahead. It's there. Contact us page with a map and a form and some photos. You can do that real quick and easy. Services, maybe a project, maybe a single landing page for some project you guys are promoting, maybe some big event. So you can create basically like a little mini website on a landing page. So you can do a lot of neat stuff with all these different kinds of pages, and they're really, really quick and easy. So if you're just going to add a new page, a blank page, click blank page, give it a name, my new page, and click add page. And it will then take you to your new blank page where you can start adding content to it, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. So that's really nice. We're going to do another class actually later today. I'll be doing some recordings about pop-ups, but know that you can create lots of different pop-ups as well on your pages. So we'll talk about that later. So then below that, below pages, we have the widgets. We no longer call them modules. They're now just called widgets. And they're really the same. There's lots and lots and lots of new features and functions. And they're all in a list here. If you don't know what it's called, if you're looking for something under Google, you can just start typing the name of it, and it'll show you, an example of it. So if you're looking for one specifically, you can just type the name of it in case you forget what the icon was for it. But to manage these, you simply grab one and you drag it out to the page and start adding content to it. So it's really, really easy to manage these widgets. And I'll show you there's a second way of adding them to the page by just right-clicking on the page, which we'll go to in a minute. But there's a long list of really awesome widgets now, and we are welcoming any ideas for new ones as well. It's actually really easy now for us to build new widgets. So we are welcoming all your ideas for something that we may not have. So if you go through the list, go play with them all, add them to maybe a hidden page somewhere, and you'll find some that you like, maybe some that you won't use, maybe some that you'll use a lot, and just go play around with them, and you'll find that there's some really great ones. I did do a training class last week that covered about 15 of the different widgets. We went in depth in managing the content on them as well as the styling of them, which you can change now as well. So go watch last week's trainings, and you'll find some really neat stuff about the widgets. So down below that, we've got the content manager. And this is just like your old file manager before, where we can upload and manage as many images as you want, and any subfolders or as many folders as you want to put your photos. Upload photos directly from your camera or your phone or anywhere else. It doesn't matter, because they're automatically optimized as you upload them. So they will be compressed and optimized for the web. There's also a built-in photo editor that I'll show you later as well, so that when you upload your photos, you can go back in and edit those photos, kind of like a little mini Photoshop built in as well. You can also upload as many files as you want, and just go crazy uploading documents, and you can search for them real quick and easy by name or type. You can even see them in a different format. So really, as far as finding files, it's really easy to find them all. So they're a great new file manager. Again, drag and drop as many files as you want into the system. In fact, when you're managing your files, we now even integrate with Dropbox or Google Drive, or actually you can pull it in from links, or even Gmail. So wherever you might keep your files, we can now plug it in and you can actually pull files directly from Gmail or Google Drive or Dropbox, wherever you might keep your files. So that is a really nice improvement. I know a lot of schools are using Dropbox, or I'm sorry, they're using Google Drive. So if you're using that, you can put it in there. And I know that the Microsoft one is coming up soon. What's it called? 365. That's going to be added shortly as well. So we'll be able to integrate with that, so that if you keep all your files in 365, which I think is what it's called, OneDrive, I think, or something like that, that's going to be added as well, so that you'll be able to access all your files there as well. Also in the content area is just another link to your form responses, just like from the dashboard, but it's also in the site here, so you can find them. You can find and replace anything as well. So if your address or phone number changes or something like that anywhere along the way, you can find it and replace them all in one fell swoop. Just knock them all out in one place. So that's a really nice piece. We've seen a lot of schools change their phone numbers and addresses and different things, maybe even principal names, and you want to make sure you get it correct all over the place. So you can find and replace that keyword, and it'll scan through the whole site and change it. So if it's changed from Mr. Smith to Mr. Jones, search for Mr. Smith, and it'll find them all and change it with Mr. Jones. So it's really easy to find and replace them all. There's a whole big section on personalization, and this is where we can do different pop-ups and messages for lots of different things. And we're not going to get into personalization today because that's quite a class in itself. But we can do notifications and pop-ups and show things to users based on different events, different times, maybe different user actions, or even different devices that they come in on. So there's a lot of things we can do with personalization, which unfortunately we don't have time today to talk about, but we definitely will be doing an in-depth personalization training class as well. Come in here and play around. I really encourage you to go play in your website. You can't mess it up. You can't break it. And if you could, there's even a restore button, which I'll show you in a second, to roll back any changes that you might have made. So don't worry about it, because you can go in there and do whatever you want, and you can undo it. There's also a built-in store now. So by default, if you want to do a school store, you can do up to 10 products in your school store. If you want to do more, the next bump up from that is 250 products in your store, and it's only $20 a month. And then you can go crazy and do up to 2,500, which I believe is $40 a month. Way more than any school would ever need. Most of the schools, if any, they have about 10, maybe or so products. So go play with the store. You can add it to the store. There are a lot of configuration options in there. So we can do a lot of different things with it. we've got folks who are buying and selling horses through the store, and there's another car dealer, and there's lots of other folks. But we've also got quite a few schools who wanted to do things like selling holiday gifts and gift wrap and candy bars and whatever else it is. You can do all that kind of stuff right through the store, so it's easy to manage that there. So you can add that and do a lot of different stuff with it. It's a full-blown e-commerce platform. There's also a blog. So now the new blog, if you've ever messed with the old blog, you knew that it was a complete disaster. Well, the new one is super easy to manage, and it's a very robust, great-looking blog. In fact, if you haven't followed ours, go to campuscontact.com and check out our blog and make sure that you follow it so that you're up to date on all the new stuff with our website. And yes, we have changed from School Desk to Campus Contact. So come check it out. So the blog is awesome, and you can have as many blogs as you want, and it's very easy, and there's lots of nice styling for the blog as well. A lot of different things you can do. And then under settings, we've got lots of options here under settings now. So you can now manage your own fave icon, and that's the little icon that you see in the tab of your browser in the top left, and that little tab. All of ours have the little C for campus contact, and you can now change that quickly and easily at any time on your own. By default, when your site goes live, we put the campus contact icon in there. If you don't like that, you can change it real easily by putting your own fave icon in there at any time. You can also put a social network image in there, maybe one for Facebook or Twitter or whoever else, as well as a home screen icon for your mobiles and tablets, because now your website can also be an app. And we'll talk about the progressive web app in just a second, because we can basically smash your entire website down into an app and put it on any device. So that's really cool as well. So now you have an app as well. You can manage the site URL, as I mentioned a while ago. So if by default, if you're like if ours is training.campuscontact.com and we wanted to change that to school website training.com, we would change that in here, and we can change the URL to literally anything we want. So you can manage that in here. By default, all new sites now get an SSL certificate assigned to them. So we manage the SSL for you. This happens when your site goes live, so it's not going to be now. Obviously, if you go to training.campuscontact.com, it does not have an SSL certificate, but we will manage that for all of your sites as they go forward, as they go live. So that's a nice new improvement as well, that everything gets SSL for additional security. As we talked about the page SEO a while ago, where you could put in the title and description and keywords, you can also do that at the site level. The site level is a little more generic, and I would definitely recommend that everyone go through and do this. You only have to do this one time, versus the page level SEO you would have to do, of course, for every individual page, which is a bit more time consuming. So at least do it once at the site level by giving your site a title and a description so we can find it generically in the search engines. Of course, if you take the time to do that additionally at every individual page, it's just going to increase your likelihood of being found under whatever specific keywords you want to be found in. So it's definitely worth taking the time to go to each page, click on SEO, and add in the specific keywords, description, and title for each individual page. It really will make a difference in your SEO. So, but if you don't have time for that or interest in it, just do it at least once under SEO in the settings section. As I mentioned before, while we have our own stats built into the site, you can also integrate Google Analytics. So if you've got a Google code, paste it right in here, and you can add that as you see fit, and it will start tracking. It does take, I think, 24 hours before you'll see the results show in Google. And so go ahead and add them in there as your Google code, and it will start tracking. We can also do URL redirects if we need to redirect your site anywhere else. We can do that. As I showed you earlier on the page settings, we can do header HTML, but we can also do this at the site level as well. So if there is a specific code that needs to be carried through the entire site, and that's the difference here is that it goes through the entire site, then we can do that. If you're maybe using a tracking code for some reason, or I don't know, maybe one of those little widgets that track page counters or something silly like that, you can put that in here. We can embed all kinds of stuff to do additional tracking of HTML. This is new and really exciting to a lot of people, is the backup. So everything is automatically backed up every single time you hit that republish button. So every time you go in and you make a bunch of changes, that's automatically saved, and then as soon as you hit republish, it's saved again. And so there's a tremendous number of backups, and you'll see them all here, and we can roll back to any previous version, which is really nice, because if I want to go back to last week's training, let's go back to training here, and I can just hit restore. I can roll back to any previous version in just a couple of seconds here and see this is how the website looked last week when I was out there playing around on different widgets and different content. So it's nice to know that we can roll it back to any previous version anytime you want, and I can bring it right back to the way it was now at any time that you need. So if you do find that you've made a change in your website, you broke something really bad, maybe you messed up and deleted a bunch of pages or something, don't worry about it. Go to your pages, go to your settings, go to backup site, and do a restore. prior to when you had messed it all up, and then you can roll it back real quick and easy. So that's a really nice new addition. If for any reason you wanted to, we can even export all of the content now to an HTML file. If you want to use it, you can certainly do that now. So it's much easier to do that. So we talked about the editor language, and we can change the editor to any of, I think, about 10 different languages. But we can also do that for your website itself. We can change the site language itself. But of course, we also have a Google Translate widget, which is probably a better way to do that. But if you wanted to change the entire site language, you certainly can. We do have a couple of ESOL sites that are actually completely in Spanish. And so rather than just using Translate, which isn't quite as accurate, we put the entire site in Spanish, and they built it in Spanish, they wrote it in Spanish, and it's truly as accurate as it gets because they speak Spanish fluently. And so it's truly a Spanish website, including the navigation and toolbars and everything in the site. So you can certainly do that as well. There are some privacy options. Of course, the privacy page is one that all of your old sites had, and that's an option you can turn on or turn off, and you can manage that privacy page yourself. You turn it on and you can customize it and reword it however you want. It's got some default language that it will suit most schools' needs, but you can come in here and change it and update it as you see fit, or just not have it at all. Totally up to you. I'm going to turn it back off here. So deactivate that page. Also, there you can turn on a cookie notification because our sites do use cookies and session cookies. So you can turn that on. It's really more for international use. Everybody in Europe has the GDPR little pop-up notification, which is completely useless, but if it's a requirement for you, you can definitely turn that on. And the 404 page, which is really nice that you can now create your own and manage your own 404 page. If you haven't seen what some schools do with 404 pages, just go to Google and type in 404 page examples. And you'll see that there's thousands of really cute and funny ones out there that really help you. And what a 404 page does is if you've got some links in your website and they go to maybe another page, and then you've deleted that page, but you never corrected the old link, well, now that link doesn't really go anywhere. So instead of just showing an error, it will actually just show a 404 page, and basically it's just a page not found error, which is pretty common, especially as your site goes along and lots of people have added to it and you've added to it, and it kind of grows over a while. You'll add and delete stuff, and then you'll forget to go back and delete that link that went to that page that you just deleted. So you can customize the 404 page and make it whatever you want, or just use the original one, which just looks like that. So not super exciting by default, but you can play with it and change it and do whatever you want with it on your own. So that's kind of nice. And last but not least is the progressive web app. So I mentioned earlier that we can make your entire website an app very easily by activating the progressive web app option in your settings, and it will prompt users to download and basically to install your site as an app. And what's great about that is it will instantly load every page as they go along, but also any pop-ups or messages or anything that you push to the site will, of course, be seen by that app as well. And so now they can simply click an icon on their phone or tablet, and it will pop up and show the entire website. Instead of having to use a browser, it just pops it up in an app format, and it's much faster. And some people like that more than trying to browse through a browser on their device. So it's a nice addition to be able to view your website now as an actual app. So there's our toolbar across the top and our toolbar options down the side. And we're going to briefly talk about some of the things on the page itself, because that's really going to be the things that we're going to cover next. In the next training class at 4 o'clock today, we're going to go in and we're going to actually edit and add some stuff. We've got a little bit of extra time. And so I want to open it up real quick. I want to invite anybody's questions before I move on to that. Let me just unmute anybody. Does anyone have any questions at this point before I dive into some minor editing stuff? Bueller. Anyone? All right, let's just jump in then. I'm going to poke around at some other things. And if you have any questions, hit the live chat there, or you can hit me up at the end as well. So just move right in, right on here. So the new website is responsive, and it's broken down into tables. So we have to think of our site now more as a table than ever before. And so in a table, we've got rows, and you can mouse over all over your page, and you'll see this blue row button on the top left, and you'll see that it puts a little outline around whatever row I'm in. And this is probably going to be more apparent on a blank page. So I'm going to go to my new page that I created earlier and really show you here. So my new page, actually, let me get rid of the thing I added here. So by default, there's going to be at least one, maybe two rows on your page, and we can add new rows by just right-clicking on a row and go to Add, and we can add a new row above. So we're going to have rows, and we're going to have columns, and we can add as many rows as we want. Just add a whole bunch of rows, and every time you mouse over one, you'll see it will show up there. Of course, you can delete a row, right-click on it, and go to the bottom and delete it as well. So we're going to have rows that our content is going to be on, but then we're going to also have columns, which are vertical, within those rows. By default, when you create a row, it has one empty column that you can add your content to. And that column is usually going to be the full width of the content area, not the entire page, but we can make it that way. But it's going to be the full width of your content area, which is generally about 1,200 pixels wide. So you can see this gray area here, that's my column. If I want to add another one, I can just right-click off to the side here, and I can go to Add, and I can add a new column. And now you'll see there's two columns. Want to add another column? I can go up to 4 columns. So now we got 3. Right-click, and I can add another column. And all of these columns are where I'm going to be placing my widgets. So picture announcements and links and a photo and, I don't know, something else. Or maybe I don't need 3. I can just, or 4. I can just delete it and go to 3. Well, what's really nice now is that you couldn't do it in the old system, is that we can resize them. So if I want things smaller on the left and smaller on the right and bigger in the middle, I can do that just by dragging things around, and I can then add my widgets to it. I can resize this later on as well, but I can make things any size I want, so I can shuffle them around and really manage the way that the content is going to be displayed on my website just by dragging and dropping and moving things around. So that's a really nice piece. Now we can also, and we're not going to get into design yet, but know that there's a design option that we can edit the design, meaning we can manage the colors and textures and backgrounds and borders and shading and all kinds of cool stuff by clicking on, right-click literally on anything, whether it's on a row or a column, and we can edit the design of it, and that lets you change all kinds of fun stuff in the background. So you've got a lot of new design options in terms of managing the style of things as well. So I've added some rows, I've added a few columns. Let me go add some widgets to those. So I'm just going to go grab some of the more common ones. First, of course, is our text, just your plain old text, and we'll just drag it out to one of those rows. And we've got our little pop-up text editor. So unlike the old system where the whole thing would reload and load slowly and you pop you up in a weird little box, you now have a floating text editor that you can do just about anything in. And we can edit it by just typing, there is some new content for the website, whatever it's going to be. In this editor, we have bold and underline, italics, all the usual suspects here. We can change the colors. We can add as many colors up to, I think there's 66 million colors. So go nuts with colors. You can also paste any HTML or RGB color, hex or RGB color that you want in here. You can even make the colors opaque as much as you want, so you can play with that, and of course reset as well. So we can do a lot of fun stuff with colors now that we couldn't do before. Also the font sizes, easy to manage. There's a ton of them because in the past people were saying they didn't have enough options. Well, now you got some options. Also, fonts. We use the entire Google font library. So there are a ton of different fonts for you to go in here and play with. So if you want something unique, it's probably in there. And these are all web-friendly Google fonts. So yeah, there's whatever it is you're looking for, it's probably going to be in there. And go in there and play around with all these different fonts that you can now use. You can also change the font weight, make it normal, bold, whatever. The alignment as well. You can make things left or right, centered, whatever it's going to be, maybe full, justified, whatever. You can manage the line height. We can do links. And links are fun because now we can link to lots of different things real quick and easy. And by default, we're going to see this link thing show up, especially later in the next editing training. We're going to talk a lot about links, but we can link to existing pages, so it'll show all the pages in your site. We can link to any website URL, so you just put in the URL to the website. We can even create pop-ups that I mentioned earlier. We're not going to get into that, but we can link to different pop-up messages. We can even do anchor links, so we can link to anywhere specifically on a page. We can link to email addresses and even click to call. This is one that you'll use commonly on your website for mobile mode. So a little button or icon that click to call. And of course, last was we can link to files in your website. It will show you how to link to the different types of files in your website. So this link structure you'll see in lots of different places, and it's the same everywhere. So there's a lot of uniformity in the way that it's accessed and managed. So linking is really nice and easy too. We can link to different content in your website library, which we're not going to talk about content linking, but we can do a lot more advanced stuff than we ever could in the past. There's also buttons and numbers and, of course, paragraph and undo and redo. Big stuff there. And when you're done, just click close, and it's automatically saved. So no more of that page refreshing stuff. Let's go add another widget. So as I mentioned the widgets earlier, we can add widgets from here, and we can just drag them out to the page. Well, I like to actually just stay working on the page instead of going over opening the widget tab. And so instead, we can add widgets by just right-clicking in an empty column and go to Add, and we can add our widgets in there. So I can add text or images or a button or an icon, or if there's something else I want to add, I can click on More Widgets, and it's the entire library of widgets, but I never have to leave that page, so I can add whatever it is I want there. So there's lots of neat stuff I can add there. Maybe want to add a map. It's a small little map. So let's go add something else real quick. I don't know. I'll show you why I'm adding stuff to the page. So I'm going to go to Add Widget below. We'll add an image this time. And adding images is really easy now. You just simply select the image you want and add it to the page. As I mentioned earlier, there's also a built-in editor, so you can edit photos by just clicking the Edit button, and you can go in here and manage and crop and do all kind of fun stuff with the photo itself. But yeah, so there's a built-in editor. We can also link those images. There's our little linky thing again that we saw a minute ago, and alt text. And so the ADA requirements are really important for you guys, especially at schools. So you can do your alt text for any documents and photos real quick and easy. And although it's not mandatory in terms of the functionality, it really is important for you from a management standpoint to make sure that you always do your alt text for any image that you add to your site. It doesn't have to be anything long, but it does need to be somewhat descriptive. So we can do kids in costumes or whatever, but you need to at least put some kind of alt text for every image that you add. You don't have to put a tooltip unless you really want to, and that's your little mouse over verbiage that would pop up. But you do really need to add your alt text all the time. Can't stress that enough. So now we've added stuff to our page, and maybe we said, oh, the photo's too big and my map is too small, it just looks funky. Well, because we have these three different columns and we've got this sitting in one row, we can now change the size of the columns by mousing over it and moving them around. So now I can change these columns by putting my mouse over the little line between them, and you'll see it becomes a big line. When I see that big line, I can now grab that and I can move it over and I can change the size of my map. I'm going to reload this just because the map doesn't refresh on its own very well. It is the Google map. So now I can resize my map. So it's really nice to know that I can change things around. You can also drag stuff around real easily. So if I want to move my photo over there below or above my map, I can do that. I can drag and drop the size of it. You can get rid of columns completely or add new columns. So moving stuff around is super easy now in the new system, and it's just much more friendly for you to work with. So these are some of the biggest things, or just being able to move stuff around just by drag and drop, and it's just really, really simple to manage stuff right on the page. No more little pop-up windows, no more page reloading. Just do whatever it is you want to do on the page, right on the page. So that's a nice improvement. So I'm gonna have to cut it short because we're hitting our hour mark, but I do want to open it up for questions before we dive into it at our 4 o'clock class, where we're gonna get more into editing and really dive into a lot of the different widgets. We'll add some of the different custom pages, and we'll even talk about my favorite piece of the whole system, which is called sections, where we can add lots of different custom design pieces that are already built and designed out for you, that you can add these beautiful little pieces to your site, and then you just go in and change out photos and just customize it to be your own. So that's a really nice new piece to use some of these pre-templated components. So that's the stuff I love. But I'm gonna go ahead and open it up, and any questions that you guys have, now's the time to answer or to ask them. Anybody have any questions at this point?
Hi, Rob. It's Ernest. Can you hear me?
Hey, Mr. Warren, how are you?
I am great, sir. Quick question for you, Rob. All right, so as I talked to Terry on yesterday, our site went live. So how long do I have for both sites to be available until I actually get comfortable with the new site? Because I definitely want to jump in there and start trying some editing and everything before I switch over. So approximately how long do I have?
Gotcha. That's a good question. Yeah, we are going to be keeping the old content probably for another year, but we do need to get everybody off of that old system, because the old system, for one, it's very outdated. It's clumsy and clunky. We're not supporting it in terms of any future improvements or additions to the old system. So it is definitely abandoned and old software that we're moving away from. Also, the server that you're on is one of our troubled children that really was giving us some problems. So we were working with everybody on server 1 to get them off of that from a critical standpoint before that thing just dies. So the old system, while it's still working, it will be available in the background, and we do have backups up for it. But we're just pushing everybody over to this new system just because it's better, it's faster, it's easier to manage, and the old one is just it's outlived its days.
Sure. Totally understand. Yeah, and I definitely look forward to diving over into the new site. Just want to get comfortable, with the new site before I completely switch over. So I'm just looking at maybe a few weeks out or so.
Gotcha.
Got a lot of stuff going on here at the beginning of the school year. So I will be taking some time, and probably I'm going to try to jump back on your webinar this afternoon and try to catch quite a few of them and look at some of the recorded versions before.
Gotcha.
To really get comfortable with things.
Now, one of the drawbacks to dragging it out is that, of course, you're going to be wanting to edit and add new content. And so the more stuff you add to the old site, the more out of sync the new site becomes. So making that change sooner than later is really going to be important, because you're going to want, we've already migrated all your content. We've moved everything over. You don't want to wait too long and have your site totally out of sync, and now you're missing stuff that you've added that we didn't migrate because it was added after we've already done it. So you do want to make that possible.
Exactly. So, and one last question for you, Rob. With me over the years, I depend heavily on the help desk module. Is that available on the new site?
Absolutely. It's available for any site as well. And we've actually made some big improvements to the help desk module as well. So it's still available, and it's bigger and better than ever. And yep, we're still using it for sure.
Okay, awesome. Look forward to it, Rob. It really looks nice.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great.
Rob, a question from Pawtucket.
Yes.
Is there a way that when we add photos that we would be able to access them from each of our sites? Like we could kind of have a master upload. I know it's available on every page, but a way so that we could use it on all of our individual sites?
There's really not, because each site is a freestanding site, And so anything you add to one site is just at that one single site. There's not a global library yet.
Okay.
Not sure that's even something we'll be able to do with the site groupings that we're working on. But anything that you add to one site, if you're going to want that in all the sites, you really do have to go to each site and upload it. Now, in your case, you're building out a template. So anything you add to that template will be available on all the sites created from that template. So maybe you want to
page or even in the folder.
It'll be in the folder of all of them. So as you create your template, if you've got maybe a library of photos you want to put in a template, even if you may not use them, throw a couple hundred photos in there that you might or might not use on your school sites. Then when we create your school sites from that template, they'll all have that entire folder that you created initially.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end it and wrap it up here. Wait, I see one more coming in. Oh, got an awesome. Thank you, Mr. Warren. All right. You guys have a great day, great rest of your day. We'll pick it up at 4 o'clock Eastern time, which is where we're going to really get into editing and adding content and moving stuff around instead of just the intro stuff. So other than that, go have a great day, and we will talk to you at 4 o'clock. Thank you very much. Oh, wait, Clinton. Try to manage that. Let's see. Hang on 1 second. Trying to unmute you. Hang on 1 second. Let me figure out how to do that. Unmute. There we go. Okay. You had a question. You can go ahead and speak it now, or you hit it in the live chat. Yes, you can definitely watch this presentation again. All of our training classes are at campuscontact.com/training, which is where we're going to put this one and all of our other presentations as well. So here you can go in and scroll down, and you'll see all of the other training classes that we've done. And we'll also be doing directly below this later on today will be a library of individual widget training. So we're going to put a little library where you can click on widgets or videos for each individual widget and lots of individual functionality. So yes, go to campuscontact.com/training, and you can watch this and any other previously recorded classes as well. And now we also still do the on-site training if that's something you guys wanted to do. We do charge for on-site training. And yes, this one will be uploaded to that site probably within another 15 minutes as well. What school system are you with? Oh, you're at. Are you at the Eugenia B. Thomas School? Oh, okay, John I. Smith. Okay, I haven't done yours yet, but we definitely got you on the list. In fact, we just did the Eugenia B. Thomas, so we can definitely work on yours as well. Can you give me your contact information so I can get? Oh, well, welcome. Can you get me your contact information, and I'll have Terry reach out to you and get you on the schedule for a training. Just your phone number and email, and we'll get in touch with you and schedule a training. In terms of the design for the new website, it can literally be anything you want. So we've got some folks who are just going shopping out there, looking around on the internet at different school websites that they like. It can literally be a university website, any website. We had one automotive website that they really liked, and we used that as a school. So anything that you've got in terms of designs that you like out there, bring it to me and we can replicate it. Now, I can also just go build it for you. I have quite a few people who say, Rob, just go build me something awesome, and I trust you. I can totally take it that route as well. So just based on your colors and your logo and the general style that you like, I can go build something awesome for you as well. So you can be as involved or uninvolved as you want to be with the design. And then we'll go to your old website and we'll migrate all your content over to the new website for you. And then when you're ready, we'll cut you loose and you go live with your new website. So it's a pretty simple process. Sure. Absolutely. I've got your info now, and I'm going to pass it over to Terry, who will probably be reaching out to you today or tomorrow to schedule a training time, or I'm sorry, a design meeting for you, and we'll get you set up. Otherwise, come back and join us at 4 o'clock, and you'll see the rest of it on how to actually manage the content. All right. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you very soon. Take care.